people that it was a fair fight, and see what the jury and judge thinks. Tell the world, Johnny. Tell them, Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp, man, I'm a victim too, and yes. It's a fair fight. And see how many people believe or side with you.
Today's topic, Johnny Depp. So if you aren't aware, recently Johnny Depp lost his libel suit that he was basically prosecuting. Well, he's going up against The Sun, which is a newspaper in the United Kingdom, and basically said that they defamed him, that the things that they were alleging in their articles about him were false and a lie, and so he was suing them. The decision came back. The judge said that there was enough merit to their claims, and so therefore the case was rejected, and he ruled in favor of The Sun. So in the UK, it's actually pretty atypical. Generally, they favor public figures versus the newspapers. So this was actually quite a big victory for The Sun. But we're not going to talk too much about the court case, only because we don't know what was provided at the depositions. We don't know what was alleged and what kind of proof they provided. So we can't really speak on that. But following the decision made there, Johnny Depp was fired from the 3 more movies that were being made within the series called Magical Beasts. They already made the first 2, there's 3 more left. And so he was fired from that, and they're going to recast his role. He will be losing a lot of other roles within Hollywood. Basically, he's being blacklisted.
Pretty much.
If you aren't aware, Johnny Depp has been accused of being a wife beater, and there's been quite a lot alleged by his now former wife, Amber Heard, the girl from Aquaman. So that's, I think, the gist of it. What are your thoughts, Preach? What do you think?
Am I surprised? No. What's funny is just the amount of crickets that we hear. Equality. But when this happens, crickets. They were very loud to be able to say that. He needs to be this, he needs to be that. Proof has been shown.
It's not true. I'm not the one who throws pots and
those are different. That's different.
Else at me.
That's different. That's one does not negate the other. Just because I've thrown pots and pans does not mean that you come and knock on the door. I'm not going to get into the details of that fight. You and I both know that you split when there is no physical involved. And that you do it at the very beginning of fights these days. You do it and you get dressed.
You were screaming at me.
I'm not going to validate my actions last night.
And from then, you've heard crickets. You don't hear anything. Your apology needs to be as loud as your disrespect. Your rectification needs to be as loud as your disrespect. No, he's a wife beater. He's this and nothing.
Very bad.
No, I'm talking in Toronto.
I did not start screaming until you poke an animal enough. It is eventually done, no matter how friendly it is or how cool.
You punched me in the thing, and you spit me in the face, and I watched you lie, and then I
didn't punch you. By the way, I'm sorry that I didn't hit you across the face, but I was hitting you. It was not punching you, babe. You're not punched.
Don't tell me what it feels like to be punched.
I'm not hit. I'm sorry I hit you like this, but I did not punch you. I did not deck you. I was hitting you. I don't know what the motion of my actual hand was, but you're fine.
She's been marching and marches, claiming to be the victim when it was shown that she was actually the perpetrator, and then nothing. Not a single word. Nothing. By doing so, you're being complicit in what you're trying to denounce. You already know who I'm talking about. But I'm not disappointed. I'm not surprised. I know this would happen like that. This is double standard that happened on both sides. But whatever, this happens now, and there's nothing to be said. So, I mean, people asked us to cover this and to be able to say something about this. What haven't we said already? Yeah, I have to let the things follow its course and see how this is going to go and this is going to happen. But at the end of the day, the livelihood of a man is losing a career, basically, being erased off of everything, being blacklisted and stuff like that. And more people are just going after it. I mean, Amber Heard still has her contracts with L'Oreal and other brands and stuff like that. They're not even talking about recasting her for Aquaman anymore. They're thinking about pursuing the movie with her in there, knowing what happened, seeing the evidence that we have. but it's okay. I mean, at the end of the day, we should believe her after all. To be honest with you, Abba, like, it's like, I see this shit, I'm so just discouraged with this shit. I'm so discouraged with this shit because nobody really wants to hear it. Nobody really wants to understand it. Nobody, when you talk about it, you just get, people don't want to hear you. So it's just like, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't really want to, like, it's because it's, like, it's not even worth it and stuff. You want to talk about it. You want to have a conversation with it, and people don't really want to have a conversation. I've tried to have conversation with some of the people, and like, man. Oh, here you go crying. Oh, boo hoo hoo. It's like, what? Really? That's a language that you're. I'm trying to have a conversation so we can understand this and know what's going on. And that's what you're saying? Boo hoo hoo. Look at you crying. It's just one man. It's just, that's all the information that I see. That's all the people that I see when I try to, that's the arguments that I see whenever I try to point out this, the inconsistency about this thing. And it's hard to discuss. It's hard to, just to have a conversation. Because basically, I'm really one of the believers that, having a conversation is the best way that we're going to be able to solve all these problems that we have. But no, motherfuckers don't want to have a conversation. So, what do you want me to say?
It's not my personal perception. I don't feel like everyone's not interested or don't really care. I feel like it's quite the opposite. I think most people do care and they side with Johnny Depp. I think advertisers, media don't. But they're not necessarily a reflection of reality. The same way, politicians think that the world's solutions are this, and then they're really just behind the times. Oftentimes the people are way ahead on the curve, and I think most people see that she's a manipulative one, or she can be the abusive one in this situation. Some people say that, he was equally fighting her. It's potentially true. My question is not which one has more culpability. My question is not which one's more guilty or not. It's hard to know when you're not there. What I do have an issue with is that there seems to be one set of rules for men and a different set of rules for women. If you had made this an anonymous thing, you didn't know who the two individuals were, I told you what they did, I didn't tell you what their gender was, how would you be able to tell them apart? Amber Heard is literally on tape admitting to the fact that she lopped off a piece of his finger.
Exactly, because you're bigger and you're stronger. And so when I say that I thought you could kill me, that doesn't mean you counter with you also that you lost your own finger.
She admits to throwing things at him, pots, pans, vases, all this stuff, glass.
Just because I've thrown pots and pans does not mean that you come and knock on the door.
She admits to punching him, hitting him.
I'm sorry that I didn't hit you across the face, but I was hitting you. It was not punching you. Babe, you're not punched.
All forms of basically beating on him, right?
Who are they going to believe?
They have evidence of her admitting that she instigated and that he tried to walk away a lot of the times and that she didn't like that. She called him a punk and tried to emasculate him when he wouldn't want to engage in conflicts with her.
I'm not going to get into the details of that fight. You and I both know that you split when there is no physical involved. And that you do it at the very beginning of fights these days. Every single time you get dressed and you split the top of a fight, you never can try and work it out. You never fight for me. You never come to me. You never self-calm. You never self-soothe. You're never the one to throw the olive branch. I'm sick and tired of it. It needs to change. But every time you don't like what I say and you can run away, we'll never work out anything. You can't run away every fight. You can't. It's easy. It's not brave. It's not strong. It's harder to say to somebody, I want to work this out. I want to face what I have. I want to face what you have. I want to work it out with you. You're not working it out. You don't fight for me. You don't fight when there's a problem. You don't come to me. You don't make peace with me. You never extend an olive branch. You're never the bigger guy. You're never the one that's like, okay, I'm going to put my own feelings aside for a second and say, this is bigger than us. Let's stop fighting. You never are the one to come and knock on my door.
This is not hearsay. This is not my opinion. This is her words out of her mouth. But because it's her, it ain't a thing. But if it was him, now we got a problem. And I think that's the frustrating part. And I think it speaks to the idea that women are just not held accountable for the violence that they inflict on people. And the role that they play in perpetuating certain cycles. And there's no doubt that men and their role in this is quite more deadly oftentimes and more pervasive. But I also have to say, what message are we sending to people in regards to the idea of violence if we say this man needs to lose everything when he does it, but when she does it, let's just keep supporting her because she's a victim in all this? What are we saying to men who are the victims of violence? That basically their needs, their problems are going to remain unheard and nobody cares. And I think that's a frightening message to put out there. So it's just one of those things that is frustrating. And I don't know if I'm necessarily like one of those people who's like, man, Johnny Depp's super innocent. But, listening to those tapes, just from personal opinion, I can't clarify this and tell you with certainty. So this is just hearsay. But just listening to those tapes, and the feel that I got was based off the interactions, the conversations that she had, she would not accept any of the responsibility for the things that she did. She wanted him to accept all of it. And even as he was saying, this is what you did to me, she found ways to gaslight him and make him believe he was crazy. She would say stuff like, oh, I'm a 115-pound woman. Like, if I punch you, it doesn't mean anything. You're a man.
Do you believe you abused me physically?
Do I physically believe? Do I believe I physically abused you?
Yes.
Do you know I'm 115? Well, not anymore, but I was 115.
Like, oh, so she thinks that her acts of violence aren't real. And she gets up in front of, hundreds of people, thousands of people at a women's march and makes a speech about how she's a victim and she's been suffering. I'm like, what? Do you think that just because you're shorter that you can't inflict pain on people? And I don't know. It's just, you hear all this stuff and it just reinforces. And this is something I've hated most of my life, this kind of entitlement and comfort that some women feel with crossing boundaries. There's this idea that if a woman's walking down the street, she should be able to walk unaccosted, that her boundaries, her physical space matters. But I think with men, you can hit us, you can punch us, you can do whatever you want, and it's just not that deep. I remember being in high school and watching a girl slap a dude in front of everyone in class, and the teacher's like, all right, everyone take your seats. I'm like, bro, you heard that smack halfway across the school, and you don't feel anything. Reverse the genders and who's getting suspended. But that was like a microcosm for me, and it made me understand the way society structures violence and culpability. And the reality is we just don't make people responsible for a lot of the actions that they take based off of their racial background, their looks, their gender. And it's just unfair. When we talk about equality, we never want to talk about about the advantages that the perceived disadvantaged group has. Okay? We don't want to talk about the fact that black folks can get away with certain things, right? That white folks can get away. We'll talk about all the things white folks can get away with. And trust me, there are things. But the things that black people, no, if you do, you're a traitor. If you do, you're with the Klan. It's like, what? No, this is a reality. And me pointing it out does not mean I hate this group. It just means like, that's some fucked up shit. And that's your privilege. A woman can go in a club, sock a dude in the face. Nobody does anything. And if the dude retaliates half as much, the whole club is coming down on him like bombs over Baghdad.
Oh, what are you talking about? Women don't have privilege. It's not a privilege to be a woman. What are you talking about, Abba?
No, this is a binary thing. There's the privileged and there's the unprivileged. There's no nuance, of course not. What are you talking about?
And that's what
do you mean 50 Shades of Grey?
Yeah.
50 Shades of Black and White.
That's what I'm saying. It's the conversation I've been having with people. So when I'm saying, yeah, I've seen the social media and I've seen people being behind Johnny Depp, but when I have this conversation with who I believe I should have the conversation with, because if I have the conversation with people that believe what I believe, what's the good in that, right? The people that believe what I believe, they already believe what I believe. I'm preaching to the choir, doesn't matter. But if I believe, but it's no use to it. It's really no use. They don't see it.
They don't have that conversation with them. You know what I mean? Like,
how are we supposed to progress then? How are we supposed to?
You're not here to change the minds of everybody.
True, you're right.
You know what I mean? I don't make this content for people who vehemently disagree with everything and can't want to hear my opinion. I make the content for people who are open-minded and want to hear different opinions.
My error.
I'm not going to go to a Klan member to discuss why black people should exist. I'm going to discuss it to other people who may have an uncle who said a lot of things to them when they were growing up. And maybe they're more open-minded. Yeah. They want to see the world, right? So I don't stress myself with people who are too close-minded. That's going to be a thing forever. But I think there's a lot of people who are just wanting to hear different opinions. And so, yeah. And I think also Hollywood's response, stealing a man's bread and money, men... Yeah, that's something you got to worry about. Careful. It just reinforces the idea, like, who cares what Hollywood thinks? You know? Like, they have no sense of morality.
So you're going to tell me that, Hollywood, the birthplace of Epsteins and Weinsteins, are going to tell me how to morally act and how they're going to dictate what I should and should not do.
Yep.
You shouldn't go with Slayton. Yeah, all the people. Yeah, all right.
Yeah. Just seeing how outspoken everyone was when she was, supposedly being hurt. But then when he turns out to be equally
Ain't
hurt.
nobody saying.
It's just, people got to protect their bread. So to me, this is just more of the same. It's just a reflection of how our society views violence against dudes. It's very common. And it's just a broader discussion about that. I'm not surprised. I don't think he has any chance with this case. Because the truth is, he did engage in some forms of violence. Some people say it's retaliation. Some people say self-defense. But I wasn't there. You weren't there. We have no way of truly knowing. You believe it. Maybe because you want to, or maybe because you feel like some of the evidence suggests he's stronger. But there's enough stuff there to say that he potentially did engage in quite some stuff. So there's no libel or defamation if there's quite a bit of truth to your claims. So we'll see how the court case goes. Like I said, none of us know what kind of evidence they have. But looking at it from my perspective, he's going to lose. He's going to keep losing. And that's just the truth. It's not what you guys want to hear, but seems to be what's going to happen. So, yeah, that's all I got. Anything else you want to add?
It's 2020. It's the year of taking your L and leave.
Yeah.
That's it.
Leave your comments below. We want to hear what you guys think.